Hey, you guys!
So I came out to visit you in Budapest, and you were all in your 17th century clothes. There were pigs running around. So what was it like there, working there with that amazing set design? And do you miss being in Budapest?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, safely say.
Oh, sorry. Not used to it. Yeah, I think I can say on behalf of everyone here, really, like, we miss Budapest so much, as a city, but also as a workplace, because, like you said, it is real. Like, you walk in and there are pigs that start off as piglets when you first start filming, and then they turn into pigs. It's amazing. There are goats, there are dogs, the church is working, the brewery, like the well, everything is real. So you get this sense of really belonging to something incredibly honest, and I think that's something that we all really adore.
So in the first series, the narrative was from the perspective of the three women. Does that change in series 2?
Yes. No, I think that there's an added element of I guess it gets deeper and it gets a bit thicker. I think there is this perspective of the three women, but there's also this added element of these two new characters who come in, and their story and their journey in Jamestown as well. And I think it just advances, and I think grows as the series goes on.
I think you see that freedom has its limits with the addition of these new characters, and the freedom that is bestowed by the people of higher status within the town upon myself and Abu playing Marie and Pedro, these new characters, but also on the other residents of Jamestown. People, there's an extent to which you can only be so free as we tell you, and that's not freedom. I think as soon as money exchanges hands for the right of someone, kind of with the women, but also with the workers, as soon as that happens, there's an agreement of, okay, this is how much power I have over you. And it's what series 2 offers us, is the opportunity to see how these people navigate with the amount of power that they've got, and what they have to do to break out of that level, who they have to dally with or deal with, or do things to survive.
And at what point did you know you were going to be in it? Did you watch series 1 knowing you were going to be in it?
I mean, we watched it after. I mean, because I don't think it was out
when we got it.
When we got it, yeah. I think episode 1 had just almost aired.
Just about to start, yeah. I think we got it like near Easter, and then series 1 started beginning of May.
Yeah.
Then we went. So it was really, we had the opportunity to at least watch the start of the series before we went. But I think I remember getting it, and then my mum, I think before the meeting we had together, where my mum then started seeing the trailer on Sky, I was like, wait, it's this? And, and that shock, and then like a week later, you got this, and having the opportunity to see that and know what you're about to be a part of, something so vast and something that had so much time taken about it, and this a female-driven story in such a vast location, and what the period of time that it was depicting as well.
And what kind of role models did you draw on to help you carve out your roles?
I think I was saying there's a thing in Bill's writing that happens where he writes these characters who are immensely precise and very nuanced and detailed, each one separately, but there's something very universal about all of them. So all the women I ever play, I think, are somehow my mum, which is possibly true of all of us, I think. All right, and probably the guys as well. Yeah. He writes it in such a way that each one is so specific to their own story, but there's something very, very human and relatable about all of them. So you can find something somewhere all the time.
And when researching this time period, was there anything that you found out that shocked you in any way that you didn't know before?
I read a story about a man who killed and ate his pregnant wife.
I didn't.
And there it is.
drops it.
That was just a very delicate mic drop you just did there. You went, I shan't be needing this microphone. I'll pass it to Ben.
I regret saying that now.
No, why would you regret? That's the detail we want. That's why we're here. Yeah. That's perfect clickbait. I think we found out lots of things that now we're put in the cold light of not only day, but this wonderful light that you have on the camera. We can't really think of any things to genuinely say. I remember when I was researching stuff for doctory things that Christopher Priestley does, we brought on a historical medical expert. And in the last season, when we were dealing with Jason and Jason's illness, Yardley's illness, we were told about how that surgery would work and about how primitive a lot of the things would be going forward. And we all believed that you would stitch people up, and they did stitch people up, but it was a very rare thing to do. And obviously we assumed that Christopher Priestley is this very forward-thinking man, so he would stitch people up. But what we found out was that if you didn't have any money, what people usually would do is they would seal up a wound with boiling oil. So what you would do is you would do the surgery and you would disinfect it in the best way possible, and then pour boiling oil onto the wound in order to stick it together. And you're just thinking that it is an incredibly it's a wild place to be, and these people are put in these extreme circumstances. And I kept thinking, God, that is representative of this time that we're in, of people who actually have limited resources, and although could be forward thinking, like, it's going to be hundreds and hundreds of years until we figure out, sanitary ways of doing these sorts of things. And they were living in squalor. Even the people who have wealth were put into these positions. And so when we're going forward about with the childbirth, like, there is a drama to that. There's a drama to that scene, because we now just assume that pregnancy and is kind of going to be fine, and you assume that you're going to have the child. There will always be, if there are issues, it's very sad, but certainly there's a fear that a pregnancy could kill you. And it's that danger that we cling on to. It's that every day you wake up thinking, if I get infected or if I get a cold, I could die. It's a dangerous, wild place to be. And I think we take that for granted nowadays, but that's certainly something I felt researching it.
And have you got over cutting open the pig's carcass? You hadn't.
Oh yeah, totally. I don't know. I have got over it. I've also, I think the last time we spoke, I said that I think that Jamestown is a way of allowing me to get over the innate fears I have of just seeing blood and people telling me about blood in general. There are more things this season which I have to do and play with, which are just as gross, and I'm slowly adapting to life as a man who has to touch blood for a fake living. But it's a great. Bill's written some really, really cool things for me to play with, and I soon will be able to look at an open wound and not want to vomit in real life. So thank you. I wish.
So Naomi, you probably don't remember, but just before I interviewed you, you came in and said you'd just done the kissing scene, and then I think you mentioned as well you'd just eaten an onion sandwich as well, and I thought,
yes, I do remember that. I had to know it was a burrito because I was really hungry, and then I had to go and do a very intimate scene with another member of cast who shall remain nameless. It's Niamh.
I should be so lucky.
But it was badly timed and I regret it, but I was very hungry, and when I asked said cast member, I was like, do I smell of onions? I'm really sorry if I smell of onions. They were like, no, mate, whoa, oh my God, you stink of onions. I was like, I'm so sorry. And so I just couldn't take it seriously at all.
I wasn't trying to make you feel guilty, I was just using it as part of a question.
Sorry,
I was going to say, is a love story going to happen between your characters? Like, I didn't mean to guilt trip you about it.
Yes, that character was my character, or was it?
Thank you, Ben. Yes, there is a type of love story that's happening in season 2, but I have been strictly told that I cannot name or shame anyone.
Apart from the onion.
Apart from me. I shame myself for eating onions. Yeah.
So in series 1, your character is protected by her class and her highborn husband. Do we see a completely different change?
Yeah, I mean, there is a level of change there because obviously her form of protection, which is Samuel, is gone. And I don't necessarily think there's anything that different in Jocelyn. Like, you still see the same woman, the same manipulative, intelligent, brilliant political woman, but we've just turned her up to 11. Like, she's no longer got that safety blanket, so she's going for the jugular, like, all the time. And she has to, because, you know, like, the kind of theme that I think we all touch on quite a lot is that it's we're talking about survival, and especially for a woman, survival is hard in Jamestown, and so that's something that's kind of always at the back of our minds.
And some people have said that the women wouldn't really have behaved as feisty as they do in the show. What are your opinions on that? Some people say, they'd have taken a more passive role.
Rhymes with Pollux.
I think. Do you want to? I think the fact that we have an opinion on how women should have behaved at any period of time is really interesting to observe. I think so many people do. You have out of body experiences. You know, you do things and you're like, I literally can't believe I said that. I can't believe I did that. That's in the human condition. Man, woman, that's a human thing. And I think perhaps it's an indication of some of the ways that women in this time have been represented, because unless you were alive in 1619, you can't say how women would have behaved in such a general sense. I think it's really important to observe why one feels that that's the way women should have behaved, whether it's through individual experience or representations that there have been in media up to this point.
Of course, nobody can ever know what women would have done or how they would have lived in 1620, because nobody was there. Nobody knows what it was to be a woman in 1620, but I do know what it is to be a woman now, and I know women, and we know women, and there are women existing in situations today in 2018 which very closely mimic the same circumstances of 1619, and women are women and humans are humans, and I don't care what book you read or which was written probably by a white male historian. I don't care, because humans are humans, and that has changed so little, I think, down the years, that I think people would be very surprised to learn some of the stuff that women get up to today, when you might think they might be so oppressed that they wouldn't be able to.
Was it emotionally draining playing such ruling roles? Or when they yelled cut, could you just switch off?
I mean, I think the thing is, we're not necessarily going through what these people went through, because again, we're actors. But at the same time, there is this like weird lizard part of your brain that thinks, Jesus, this actually happened. This is real. This is our history. Yeah. This is humans' history. And there is that part where you're like, God, we have we moved further? Because I mean, still like all this kind of oppression is still going on today. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was. I mean, for me to sit here and say that it was like emotionally draining and really upsetting is almost to not necessarily offend, but I wouldn't feel comfortable saying that because of the fact that I haven't actually gone through it.
I think there were some tough days. I think as filming progressed and the weeks progressed, there was some days that were, I'd say, for our characters and as actors, more demanding in an emotional sense. But I do remember, as we were both sort of doing our research and preparing to enter this world, when you read the narrative fiction about slavery, and then when you read non-fiction, there's a blurry line. So I could read a page to you and you wouldn't be able to tell me whether it was fiction or non-fiction, to the point that you're thinking, I can't believe this. But the truth is that's what happened. And then I think also the way those characters come into it, this is before quote-unquote transatlantic slavery as we know it had even begun and had become such an institution. So I know a lot of my research was actually about what life was like for Africans before slavery, because these are human beings that have been kidnapped, and it's really important that we focus on the humanity.
Yeah, on the humanity of it, and I think again, I think Bill does that. I think that's what he's able to do, and I mean, like, and the issues that, I mean, again, going back to the question of feeling quite emotionally drained by it, I think you can ask also, you know, the women and the men in this cast about it. I mean, especially the women, because these themes are still going on today. The idea of women being completely oppressed and being told what to do, what they can and can't say, and I feel like it's it's crazy, because even though this is a period piece, these issues are still quite universal and still going on today. So, yeah,
this is a series about survival, and when people put their backs up against the wall, they do the thing that is part of their human nature, which is to seek the help of others, and it's a really difficult thing because people resort to tribalism. Tribalism, be it men versus women, black versus white. It is people find ways of seeking out the other and oppressing the other in order to defense of themselves. And fortunately, this show is about that. The first season was about what happens when you introduce an other into a place that understands, is still trying to figure out what it is. And so the women are this bizarre force, and then we bring in another sense of what something that this town hasn't experienced before, and then the beautiful complexity of not just focusing on one gender, both genders, and within that the complexities of that are different, what rights you have and what you can do and what uses you too have. It's really detailed, and honestly, these guys are amazing in it, and there are so many wonderful complex emotions that run through it. It's not as simple as you think, and really delicately done by everyone, because it's just it's a really difficult issue that is just full of so many grey areas, and it's just nice to see so many levels on which that experience, you know, it's about a blurring of those lines and what happens when those lines are blurred because actually you need the help of someone that you didn't realise you needed the help of. And I think that's what we explore this year as well, and what people are willing to go to and to cross those tribal lines, be it men or women, black or white, whatever you want it to be, high status, low status. They exist, but when you are forced to survive, it's amazing what you will go to and the people that you will try and find solace in. And I think that's what this series ends up being about, which is really lovely, and I'm really proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's the ultimate survival story. I think that's why people are so attracted to this time period. And Series 1 was so popular, and I'm sure Series 2 will be just as popular. But what about Season 3? Any news on Series 3?
I think I can be the first to officially say that we'll go to space. And it's called...
My heart was like, we're going.
It's... I think I'm be the first to. I think we can all say this isn't official. It's Jamestown in space, and we all get. The first episode is just us on the shuttle going up. It's a wooden shuttle made by Meredith Rutter. He fuels
so it crashes and burns in the first 5 minutes.
So then we don't end up in space. We end up just on the other side of the river, and it's a really exciting tale. So I hope you'll all tune in for season 3. Thank you.
Space Town.
So what were your favourite scenes to film?
I've got one scene that I can't say anything about, but you'll know it when you see it, and it's great. Oh, yeah. And you all just worked out what scene I'm talking about too. It's one of those scenes that Bill calls you up and says, "We're going to do this, can we do this?" And you're like, yeah. So you'll know it when you see it.
Talk about being ambiguous.
Tell you the minute it comes on, you'll go, oh, that's what she was talking about.
So what would you miss the most if you were taken back there? What would you miss the most that you've got today? Would it be TV, Netflix, or
Sky?
Sky One.
I think music.
We have music. We have a fiddler and a band.
Yeah, but well, it depends really. If you're going back, no, I sing.
I'm singing all the time. There's a fiddler and a drum. How dare you?
Are we going back with our brains?
Yes.
Then yeah, music. Sorry.
Good music.
And without your brains?
Well, I don't know because but with the Jocelyn brain, I wouldn't know like Led Zeppelin or Band of Skulls or.
We don't have Led Zeppelin.
I gave this answer last year and it's really dumb, but it is my answer. Like medicine, antibiotics, so everybody wasn't dying.
Toothpaste, man.
Toothpaste.
Like, come on, man. Like the amount of like people with sticky breasts talking to you all the time, and yeah, toothpaste.
Especially after garlic sandwiches.
You know what I mean?
I just realised I always come and speak to you after I've eaten a smelly sandwich. Like it's very anyway. Yeah.
Mine would be my PlayStation 4. Like just hands down, I love that thing.
You have nowhere to plug it in.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'd miss it. I'm not so like.
I just told you.
What I would describe as the entertainment setup that I enjoy the most, which is a large television, surround sound, and a PlayStation in which I can sink into a hole in which no one has to talk to me, and I can just enjoy these immersive worlds that are created for me by technical experts. I'd miss that, but also I would also miss medicine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with music, like the range of music. I'm genuinely poring over all these other things. I'm like, no, it comes back to a good bass line and a nice rhythmic section on the drums.
Couldn't you just bring that though? Like if you had knowledge, you could bring that. But do you not think that like if you had your knowledge of so if you were going back in time, sorry to get into the complexities of the question, you asked it.
You're not sorry.
You'd go back with the knowledge of like Led Zeppelin and stuff. So you could just if you were cool. Yeah, but you could because there's a fiddler. You know.
Yeah. With enough of James Reed's tools.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you could go and do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Naomi knows. We know what we mean. You know,
You could be like a really good tribute band for bands that haven't happened yet. It'd be really good. You would make a killing. You could literally travel
that
from like Jamestown to Yorktown,
nice
up and down
thick,
the East Coast, just smashing out great tunes. What would you call yourself?
Abiola. I'd call myself Abiola.
we can't believe we're not rutters. Thanks. Trademark.
Okay, guys, well, thanks so much for speaking with me. I've loved episode 1. It's given me hope in terms of, like, the way she gave birth so easily, 5 minutes of water.
Genuinely, my mum is a nurse, and, like, apparently that happens. Women just give birth. Like, it does happen.
I watched that, like, that's not accurate. It just looks far too easy.
It can happen.
Okay, well, that's given me hope for the future.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see the rest of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey